Welcome to Scarecrow Miniature Painting. I'm Steven, and we are going to continue our work on our Harpy and our Aarakocra. I do apologize if you hear my son in the background. He is in the living room playing, and I'm in the kitchen working on these figures. So what I'm doing first is I'm just touching up this Harpy with any of the areas where black is showing through on the skin. I'm not too worried about it on the hair because that is going to be getting covered up a different way. But the face, I am going to work on. And then the body of the Aarakocra we're going to work on as well. The Aarakocra we're going to be painting like a peregrine falcon. And with painting him like an American Crestle, not peregrine falcon, my apologies. With painting him like a American Crestle, it's going to give us a little bit more vibrancy when it comes to how the figure looks. So what I'm doing right now, like I said, I'm just touching up this Harpy, trying to get all the black that is showing through to be a little bit more dull, to give that Zenithal highlight, but at the same time coloring her enough to where when we start adding our layers for our figure and our highlights, it's not showing through as much. So for instance, we're going to highlight her hip here a little bit more, especially right around here. And we're going to highlight her knee here, her fists. So her knee here, her fists, her face on this side a little bit more than this side. And with that, we are done painting her for now. We're going to let her dry, and then we're going to move on to our American Crestle. So we're going to work on him a very specific way. So we're going to start off with mummy robes. The reason we're starting off with mummy robes is because American Crestles have a bluish gray on their back with a hint of brown. That's why we based them in brown. But their face, from here down, is a white with black markings. So we're just going to do that with the face right now. We're not going to do the markings yet. We're just simply getting a base coat down for what is to come with the figure. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. It's a little bit more detail that we got to add. I'm going to take my napkin like I always do and thin that paint down. Now we thinned it down a little too much, so what we can do is use that to our advantage because we want to kind of make this blend. So let's see how thin we got that. If it turned into more of a glaze, then we might have an issue. And let's see what we got going on. I'm going to load it up on that brush. I'm going to load him onto there. I'm just going to simply... Okay, no, that is perfect. Okay. So I'm going to go to about right there. Now, you're not going to be able to really see it. You do see it a little bit, but that's because we're going to start layering this on. Now, it did turn into a little bit of a wash on where I did grab it from just now. So we are going to work around that. Because we don't want it to be a wash per se. We just want it to be able to be malleable and maneuverable. So we're going to pull that around like so. And then we're going to work on his legs. I'm going to try grabbing from where I originally grabbed from, because that was more pigment and less water. What I'm doing right now is I'm just going across the legs. And I'm painting where his leg is, his thigh, where it eventually meets up with the almost, I would say it's like a chicken leg texture. And then we're going to add more than one coat to this. That's the key factor here. So we are adding more than one coat. We just have to wait for it to dry. So let's work on the face again, because that should be dry now. I'm just moving that paint around to where we want it. Now with this portion of the painting, it's okay if I get it, the white in areas that I don't specifically want it in, because that's going to be covered up with the other colors. The only colors that I don't want it to actually blend in with would be the metals we did in last episode. And that's because we don't want to have to go back over those and redo those. We want to try and move forward with this series. Now we're not going to get done with this figure. We most likely won't get done with this figure today, just because of how we have it planned out. We will be doing highlights. We will be doing stuff like that with it. We may... I was debating if we were going to do a non-metallic metallic on the head of the spear. I've decided we're not going to, just because the way it's shaped, it looks more stone-like. So we're going to do a more stone-like color and texture for that. Now with birds, if you ever look at a bird closely, because that's what we have right now, their feathers are never symmetrical. You may have a brown feather or a white feather, so I'm not trying to get all the brown covered, because some of the brown is going to show through it. So I'm going to cover that. I'm going to clean my brush. And now we are going to move on to dark stone. Now that's what we're going to start off with for the top of him. Now I am going to use this one more time, just right here. Try to cover that up a little bit more. So what I just did was right around where the eye was, there was some black showing through that I didn't want showing through. So I gotta shake up my bottle. I figured this would be the perfect time to kind of discuss blending. So blending is where you take currently wet paint or semi-wet paint and you paint almost on top of it. So I'm just going to get my paints ready. And we're going to move on to the bigger brush. This is a 0. And I'm going to get that nice and malleable. And I'm going to dip that in the brush. And I'm going to go from the very top. And remember, with this portion right here, it can get into the That's turned more into a wash for some reason. Let me try a different area. Yeah, it's still more of a wash, so let me add some more paint to it. With where the figure is, it is fine for it to have a more with how the figure is, it's fine to have more of a, I wouldn't say a base coat, but multiple layers of paint for sure would work wonders. So we're just going to go over it like so. And the reason we're doing this is so that we can get a nice top coat down for this section. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to highlight this to where you can see a gradual change in the coloring of the wing. So I'm also going to get that tail right now. While I'm at it, I'm going to go under and get that tail as well. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to go over with another coat up top. And the reason why I'm only doing the back is because we're going to touch up with that white on the front of that as well. Because peregrine falcon wings have a unique coloring. The front of the wings are pure white, almost. They have speckles, and then the back of the wings have an almost bluish gray to them. Now I'm just getting that painted as close to it as I can. So we're going to let the front of those wings rest for right now. We're going to go back to our white. We're going to load up our brush. And just like we did with the back, we're going to do with the front. Now, it's fine if this one is more of a wash, because we want some of that brown to show through, because American crestals, I keep saying peregrine falcon because it's one of my favorite birds, and they do look eerily similar. American crestals have this speckled pattern on the inside of their wings. We're going to achieve that as well in this tutorial. So we're going to just make sure we can get every crevice we can so that it starts to show through as white. And like I said, it's fine if this is more of a almost wash or thin down severely, because then it will come through a little bit more, but we want it to try and stay uniform. That's the key feature that we're going for, uniformity. So I'm just going to go around, make sure that I got everything on him where I want the white before I continue, and I'm just going to keep going through. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to take where it is pulling a little too much, I'm just going to take it, I'm going to dab it. And when it does come off, so I am going to use more of that mummy bones so we can get a better consistency with the paint in there. So I'm just going to mix that up. Because like I said, when we initially placed down that mummy bones, it was a little thin for my liking, so I'm trying to pick that back up. I'm just going to go back over like so. And once again, just like with the top, we don't have to go full white on this, because we wanted to kind of show through some of the brown, because there's still some of the brown on the initial American Crestle. So we're going to let him dry, but that's what we have so far. We're just going to let him dry so that those back of the wings, see, they're still not dry. Can get a little bit more uniformity on them. And we are going to check out our Harpy. So let's see if there's any other spot we need to do a quick touch up with that base coat, and there is not. So with that, we're going to move on to the hair. So with blonde hair, because we've already decided we're going to do blonde hair. In the last video, I asked everyone to decide what color her outfit should be. Now we didn't get any comments on that one. No problem there, because while we were over the weekend, I decided that the perfect color palette for her was actually green. Because you'll have the vibrancy of the red, you'll have the vibrancy of the green, and then you'll have the vibrancy of the blonde and the blue eyes that we're going to give her. So we're going to take our brown. I'm going to use my finest tip brush. And once again, I do apologize if my son isn't, with my son being in the background. I'm just going to paint this strand here first, because this is a more flowing, more open strand, and she does have a little ear that I want to make sure is not hidden away. Now the reason we did the hair the color we did originally was because it is a nice even pace and even transition into the brown. So I see another ear over here we're going to try to avoid, along with another strand that I'm going to try to just pull that up on, like so. It's hard to see in that light. Let me try to move a little bit. So we did get the brown on. There we go. The back side shows more because of that darkness that was on the back side. So we're going to go back through. We're going to touch that up a little bit more. And then, once I am done here, we're going to move on to the next step of brown, which would be, or of the blonde, which is more so just to add a thinned layer of desert yellow. So you want it thin because you want to kind of get into those recesses, but not hold it in the recesses. So I'm going to place that there. I'm going to take my rag, the peregrine falcons, or the Aarakocra is drying, and I'm going to just drop my water like so. Because what you want is you want to almost sepia wash just to flow through there. Hitting up the flowing areas. So that strand here, that strand here, the back of her hair. We are going to leave the top of her hair alone. So we got that so far. We're going to let her dry. We're going to check on our buddy over here, make sure he's dry. For the most part he is. We can definitely touch up the white, as you can see. We're going to have to definitely play with that. And then, well, that is doing its thing. We're just going to touch up him with that white on the inside of the wings. I'm only doing the inside of the wings white because the American Cressel's wings are white on the inside with the speckled, like I mentioned earlier. I want to just make sure we get more uniform on there. Try to get this little spot right here cleaned up. I realized why that was there. That was actually part of the nose, but that's fine. The nose is going to be a different color entirely. So with that, we're going to move on to really our first highlight, which is uniform gray. With Necromancer, or not Necromancer, Dark Stone. So I'm going to take some of that Dark Stone, I'm going to mix it with that uniform gray. Take some more. Take a little bit more. And I might touch it back over with, that looks great. I may touch it back over with black on the very bottom. I'm looking at the segments, and that seems like the right call. So we're just going to thin that down. So we're trying not to thin it down to a wash, and we almost did, but it's still malleable. So let's start going over it. So we're going to go to this first segment on his wings as this color. Now you could easily dry brush this on. I'm not dry brushing it just because I want it to kind of flow and catch everything. And once again, I do apologize for my son in the other room. He's watching his tablet, and he's not feeling the best lately. He's been sent home a couple times this week, sick. I'm just going to go back over the top of that. I left a little bit of, not a lot, but a little bit of that first coat I left on there to kind of transition into it. So that's what we got going on right now. And that is looking wonderful. So we're going to let that dry. And we are reaching the 23-minute mark, so I think this is a good spot to stop while we let that dry, and then we can move on to our pure uniform gray for him. I'm going to just move that up gradually. So right now we're going to be about right here. About right here we're going to have uniform gray, wolf gray mix, and then right here we're going to have pure wolf gray. Because remember, it's coming down from the top with this one. And then we will touch up on the harpy's hair a little bit more, because it's already looking blonde, but we can make that even more of a blonde. I'm going to show you all how to do that as well. And then we will touch up on the wood grain and the spear tip. And we will finish the falcon's head. Or we'll finish the falcon, hopefully in the next episode. Because while I got you all on, this dark stone is perfect for claws. So I'm just going to go over each claw. Now you can, if you can, go under the claws. Do that as well. However, I'm just going over the top. So that's all I can get to on these figures. And there we go, we got the claws done as well. So all we'll have left is the legs, which we are going to do in elvish flesh, just like hers. But we're going to highlight hers with a mix of elven flesh and desert yellow to kind of offset the coloring. And both of these figures are looking really good. I'm enjoying how this process is going. With that belt, I'm still trying to debate on how we're going to do this. If we're going to use a yellow, or if we're going to use a reddish color, or if we're just going to leave it, because that does look nice with how it is right now. As I was saying, with both of these figures, once they are done, they will be going on to our, I will be making sure that everyone is made aware that they're done. And I'm just touching up that tail real quick. I wanted to see how that tail looked with that mix. I'm going to pull those wings down a little bit more too, to kind of make it look like it's swooping out instead of just being stationary at those sections. And with that, I'm going to end the video. As I said, in the next video, we are going to hopefully finish the base coating for the Aarakocra. We are going to move on to the blonde highlights for the hair. And hopefully we can get to the outfit. And then we will get onto the wings of her and her legs and her claws as well. And we're going to get onto his legs, his spear, and then both of these should be done after that. We may do a soft wash. I haven't decided yet. But that is really it. If you do have any questions, please let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Join our Facebook community at Scarecrow Miniature Painting. And to overall just make sure to support the community by considering us for commissions through our Fiverr, our Patreon, our Etsy, and we are on Reddit as well. So just consider us, if you will, and to just keep watching the videos, liking and subscribing. That's really the best way to support our channel right now. That being said and done, thank you for watching the channel. Have a great day.